anyone who's watching this back or anyone who's watching this now, this is John, the man, the myth, the legend. If you watch my page very regularly, you will 100% have seen this man. You would have seen his testimonial, his case study. The amount of weight this man has lost has been insane, and it's absolutely a huge inspiration to a lot of people. I know that. John, how would you describe yourself, just so anyone who doesn't know who you are and is watching this?
Hi, Alex. Yeah, no, I'm just a very busy family man. I've got 3 children who are now grown up, doing their own things and being very successful in their own lives. My wife's very busy, running her own business regarding, she's got a livery yard with horses. So myself, I'm in events, traveling UK and around Europe, supporting and within operations within the event industry.
Very, very busy. That's always the biggest thing we always say. Like, you know, a lot of our guys in our program do have busy lives. You've got a lot going on and you're all very driven, which is huge. So what I'd quite like to talk about is life before the program, John. So 2019, what your life kind of looked like, in the, you know, the kind of height of COVID-19, or just in general, what life was like for your body, your brain, your life, 2019, really.
Well, as like a lot of us, obviously the COVID, the pandemic came along, and none of us really knew none of us could look back in hindsight at that stage and see what it was really like. So yeah, I was as busy as ever, as busy as I am now, but with no real sort of structure. And I said I was a member of a gym. I had no structure. I just went along and sort of did what I thought was the right thing. Didn't really achieve any particular goals. I used to play a lot of rugby when I was younger. But as I said, I had no goals, so I was just sort of going around in a little bit of circles with nothing to achieve, and just thinking I was doing the right thing, but with no real guidance or anybody really sort of checking up and giving me that advice.
I think that's a huge thing for a lot of men, is that they are part of a gym like yourself. They might have played a sport when they were younger, or 5-10 years ago. But suddenly when you've got family life, business, you've got work, you've got mortgages, you've got all this shit that goes on, it sort of takes over, doesn't it? I think that was kind of the reality for you, wasn't it? It was just life had taken over, really.
Well, that's right. And of course, then you lose a bit of direction. You forget the priorities then, of course. And then you start, you might, in my case, you might put a little bit of weight on, but it only gradually creeps up on you. So you don't really sort of notice it that much. And then it just becomes part of life, and you start doing things almost robotically, don't you? It's just, and my view is you're not really then in control of what you're doing. You're actually allowing outside forces to control what you're doing. So that was the sort of turning point for me, prior to catching up with yourself and prior to COVID.
I think that's, like you said, and then the effect of that is, when you start to put a bit of weight on, and I find quite often, I've had this experience before, your energy goes down and your confidence goes down. So what was the reality for sort of your energy and confidence, pre the program, really, John?
Well, it's a little bit subconscious, because you don't necessarily, because some of it is you're trying to hide it a little bit, aren't you? Because you don't actually want to own up to your sort of slight negatives, because that's just, and you've always got the excuses as well, haven't you? Everybody's got an excuse. Well, it's because I'm getting old, or I'm being busy, or I had late nights and work has been busy, or haven't got time for this, haven't got time for that. I'd love to go to the gym, but I haven't been for a couple of weeks because of this, and a couple of weeks becomes a couple of months. Yeah. Before you know it, you're another 6 months down the track, aren't you?
I always say this to guys who are going to join, and you've said this, and it's the best quote, one of the best, well, you've got hundreds, but one of the best quotes I've heard you say in the last year is that Monday can quickly turn to Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. And that's a whole week gone, and you haven't done any training, you haven't taken care of yourself. And like you've mentioned there, mate, I think a huge thing is a lot of guys that are really successful in their careers, they've got a great family life, they've built this amazing life for themselves. When it comes to their own health and fitness, it's almost like we have an inflated ego sometimes. I massively have that. I'm sure you can relate to that. And it's kind of, like you said, it's getting past that excuse, getting past that reason not to start something. But do you agree with that, John? Sometimes we can put our egos in front of ourselves and think that we don't need help. And actually it's actually something we just don't look at in the bigger picture. Do you find that often, dude?
No, definitely. And I think we're all the same, men particularly. I think we're a bit too worried about what people might think or do. And we're a bit like sort of, we just follow each other, a bit sheepish, in sheep in some ways. And you say follow, and that's what I'm saying is you lack that direction then, and you say it takes something to stop you and say, right, what actually is your goal? What do you want to do over the next 6 to 12 months? What do you want to do for the rest of your life? What do you want to do this, rather than plod along in the way you are at the moment? Because all you're at the moment is just, you say, you're robotically surviving, which isn't really very positive.
Yeah, and it's so true. Like it's so easy, isn't it, to get into that rhythm and life takes over, and you don't notice it. I know it's a huge thing, and like you said, that was maybe a few years before the program. So D-Day, the 12th of January, 2020. Well, we've been 2022,
2021.
No, 2021. But sorry, I've got that completely wrong. Yeah, but so that day happened. We jumped on a call. Before that, we had quite a long conversation about loads of different things. I remember I actually saw you had a weighted vest, and I was like, yes, this man is going to be awesome for the program. I always say that. And we talked through a lot of stuff in a bit of a conversation. We got onto a call. We battle planned out exactly what you wanted to do with your Spartan race, with losing weight, with everything in general. And we worked through it. The day that you joined, John, what did you find the changes, the process was for that first 90 days? Let's talk about the first initial sort of 0 to hero phase first, and then we'll go through the next 9 months. But what was the first initial reaction when you first joined, buddy?
The first very initial reaction that first day is like probably a lot of the guys on here is, oh my God, what have I done?
Yep.
This is all a bit new. I'm in my 50s, and what have I actually signed up for? And then realization sets in, and you realize actually suddenly, because you're there, and suddenly things start happening, and the content and the education and the bit, although it's all quite, we're very clear, aren't we, with some of the new guys that start, is that just be that big sponge, because that's what you feel like for probably the first month or so. You just feel like this massive sponge of, you found this new world, and you're starting to move in circles, and certainly I can relate to that you're starting to move in different circles of not just your thinking, and this isn't some sort of hyped up, this is just reality, not just of some of the experiences that yourself and some of the speakers we get on that can share some of their sort of things that you'd never believe are able to be done. Not just from a military background, but also from a civic background as well. Some of the mental health stuff and that sort of thing. But being able to move in those circles, that suddenly realise actually there's this whole new world out there that I didn't really realise existed. I was plodding along in my Jonathan's old world, and now I've suddenly stepped into a new world. And also I've got all this support for me as well, so I'm not on my own. And that was so to cover off what I felt like in that first period was suddenly I'd found a new support team, and actually a load of new friends as well, because a lot of the guys have, as I said to you, they've become good friends now as well, and we can have some superb banter that's completely away from the fitness and the health side. We have some great fun, and that's in the first period, definitely. I found that new world.
100%. I think for me, like I've realized it over the course of the last however long with the guys that I work with my coaches, and I think like when you introduce someone to a new idea of thinking, and you introduce someone to a new community, and they've got the structure, support, direction, you put it really, really well when you first ever joined, is the 5 Olympic rings, or the Olympic rings, sorry, of the plan, education, accountability, community support. It's 4 Olympic rings, but you know what I mean, about those, specific things. That's obviously the game changer to create a new you. I know a lot of guys are going to be watching this will go out, kind of just the end of the year, and they're going to be thinking, I want to create a new me in January, because that's obviously a huge thing for people. But do you feel like that was able to really do that, like you say, with the plan, education, accountability, community support, and that first 90 days to get you up to speed? Did that create a whole new John?
Well, it gave you the opportunity to sort of, it gave you that content, and because the online version, you can do it in your own speed as well. So you're not sort of sitting in a classroom element where some people don't react to that. So again, you can go back to it. You can go back to it 10 times if you want to, and you can go back in your own speed. So picking up on some of that stuff, but also having that support structure, whether it's just one-to-one with yourself and even the transparency of, say, your team that are behind you. Having that access, to be able to see what makes you tick, and then what you put onto us also helps as well. So that whole structure just made it so much simpler to follow. And again, it highlights the fact that you're not on your own when you're just sort of in a dark place on your own, not particularly a dark place, but you feel like you're just, where am I going with this? Am I going to the gym? might do a few weights, I might do the odd circuit, but what am I achieving? I'm not measuring it. What you can't measure, you can't improve.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a huge thing. And like, I think transparency is a massive thing. I always say that with you guys, like, there's not a fad diet. Like, I plan on, changing your life, and it's not going to be done in 7 days, or, it's not going to be done with a couple of meals. It's done in a whole different manner. And, I always talk to you, we had the chat the other night, actually, after this weekend, about the 2080 rule. And, there's loads of things that we put in place that are to keep you consistent, and let's kind of go into now, like, what did you feel you really achieved? What were the big wins in that first 90 days, buddy?
Well, I was going into the 90 days. I was already sort of on track to starting to lose a bit of weight, because I'd already sort of sussed that one out even before I joined the program. But yeah, it sort of accelerated. So that was absolutely. But it's not just all about the weight loss. It's, a lot of people, you say, in fad diets can lose weight. It's what goes with it as well. I found myself losing the weight, but also becoming fitter, leaner, stronger, faster. I'll never become a runner, but I can now quite comfortably do a 5K or whatever, and in a reasonable time. Wow. But it's the complementary things, you say, that one goes with the other. And I said I use that thing of the Olympic rings, but with the education and the nutrition and all the education. And as I said to you before, is that it's turning those things into a bit of a lifestyle as well. It isn't a boot camp.
Yeah.
This is lifestyle.
And you still eat out, you still enjoy meals with Michelle, like, you still do plenty of things, you still got a life. Like, that's the biggest thing. I don't want this to be like just you on the program. It has to be something you sustain for the rest of your life. So let's kind of fast forward now. So you've been in the program a year, a whole of 2021, which is genuinely, the journey has been insane. I actually, before this, was starting to look back at pictures, videos, all the rocket race stuff, all those things, and it's just been unreal to sort of see you fly, mate. But looking at the last 12 months, buddy, what would you say the biggest effect were for your energy, confidence, body, brain, life? Let's just cover that, really. What's it been like to be part of this community for 12 months, John?
It's just brought, I can't describe it, how much the sort of body confidence brings out into your general confidence. Yeah. And then that exudes into other people as well, and positivity to people around you, because you can't help but talk about it, because people who have either seen you or see you regularly, see your posts, see your things on social media, it's one of the first things they comment on. So of course that gets into a positive conversation. It's not, oh, by the way, God, look how fat you are. It's more of a positive conversation regarding not just my physical look, but also the other stuff I'm now able to do. And I'm say a lot more positive thinking, and I've always been a very positive person, but now I can actually carry out what I talk about.
So for brain, I feel like that's a really good thing. Much more positive place. Confidence is through the roof. When you go to work, I know that's a huge thing. That was great. Let's look at body as well. Like, you smashed the fucking rocket race. You're on, despite the injury currently, you're on the route to absolutely hammer your Spartan race. Like, yeah. Physically, what's this been able to actually help you to do and achieve? We'll kind of go for a bit of A, how much weight you've lost, and B, what you've actually been able to physically now do, John. What's been the big goals or big wins there?
Well, as you say, yes, the weight loss is a fact, but as I said, it's not just about the weight loss. It's actually about all the cardio work I've done, and all the actual sort of fitness and weights. So this isn't. I'm not a power lifter. Yeah. I've only just started recently doing a little bit of weights, technically lifting, but I don't want to go too far with that. I just want to keep lean, fit, which enables me, as you say, to go for a 5K run, to do the rocket race, to do the Spartan, and actually not just do it and die, do it and actually think, I want to do this again in 6 months' time, and I want to do it better.
We were chatting on the way around, weren't we? And you were like, I would never have run 6 miles, like, let alone 6 miles of obstacles and all this stuff. Like, it's awesome. Yeah.
And that was one of the sort of hardest things. When I look back at it, I think, and even in the first sort of mile or so of it, I think, what am I doing? I'm never going to do this. Yeah. But actually, when you get going, and it becomes mental as well as the physical side, and again, you guys around me as well sort of helped me around. It was just brilliant, and I'd love to do it again, and I think we are going to do it again. Hopefully,
get a big group of us, which can be absolutely epic. And on that as well, like, how do you feel that that's really been able to transition into kind of you as a person? So, like, your relationships, your family. I know that was a huge thing, that when your children maybe because of the lockdowns hadn't seen you in a little while. When they first initially saw you, like, what was their reaction, mate? What was the kind of life, like?
Yeah, it was really, really positive. And obviously they see me, even though it might be only online or whatever, but obviously they saw me reasonably regularly as far as that. So they noticed the difference. It was probably as much a bigger comeback with the lockdown. Some people that perhaps didn't see you quite so regularly, not just family and friends, but work colleagues, friends that, say probably you didn't see face to face for 6 months to a year, would just sort of, or maybe heard about things that I was doing and then saw you face to face and were just shocked. And that's a really nice positive feeling, isn't it? Again, it gives you that little sort of extra kick you need to go further, and that's what I want to do now. I'm not stopping. This isn't I haven't reached my peak.
Nah, 100% not. Like, I think that's a huge thing that I've seen in you is I find this all the time, mate, and it happens quite a lot. Is lads get to their 30s and they kind of think that maybe I peaked in my 20s, maybe that was it, and then that kind of travels a bit, and then the mindset of that means that certain habits, routines, and structures just become what they do. Whereas, like you said, like you're almost in your 60s, and you're now in the position where I remember the quote you said. You were like, I feel like I'm 20 again, and I think that's been brilliant. Is that we've reinvented that, John. We've got that up, and looking at the logistics of the program, You've mentioned the guest speakers. Anyone who doesn't know, we've obviously bought pro rugby players, we bought mindset coaches, we bought obviously very recently. We're going to have in the next couple of weeks, or in the next week, we're going to have obviously the main man himself, Ollie Overton. We've got other guys from Battle 360. That's the biggest thing, is I think people don't get this isn't just me. It wouldn't be able to do that if it was just me. There's plenty of other people that are better suited to educate you guys, which is obviously massive. But looking at the real logistics of the program, that's what a lot of guys are going to ask, John. Like, how has this actually worked for you? Like, how have you actually been able to implement the processes, the routines, the structures that we deliver to you? And how's that then worked to go from where you were to where you are now and become the main man? How has this actually worked for you?
I think a lot of it comes back to the real basics, you say, and I know you bang onto it absolutely dead right, is the consistency. Consistency sort of creates habits. Habits get you goals. Now, consistent habits, that could be you just have your cereal every morning. That could be you're just drinking your water every day. A lot of people have said to me, actually, only recently, yesterday, somebody said, if you were given any advice, and don't get me wrong, I'm no expert here, but you give me advice, what the 2 or 3 things say? I say, do something, move forward, walk, drink loads of water, and also sort of nutrition. So if you do nothing else, do those. So when I come back to what you're saying is what it's done to the person, it's taught you that consistency in whatever you do. Be consistent, and obviously at the moment with my leg injury, I've got to be consistent in other ways. But it's just having that mental discipline of however tough it might be, just do your shoelaces up and go and do something. Keep your kit in the bag in your car, because you say when you're tired, you come home from work and it's dark and that sort of thing. It's that first couple of steps that keep you consistent. And when you're into it, God, a few of us all the time say, it's those workouts are the best ones, aren't they? They're the ones that you didn't think you wanted to do. You'd had it was Friday night, you'd had a hard week, you had all the excuses. No, you didn't. You got on and did it. And by the end of it, it was probably the best workout you've done. And it set you up for the weekend. Yeah. So, as a person, that's what it's taught me, is be consistent and create habits, good habits, but also don't lose sight of having a good time and having a smile. You say that 80-20 eating, you don't have to become a monk. We're all human and we're all on this planet to have a bit of a laugh as well. So make sure you have that, and have your burger now and again, but only have it now and again.
Yeah. Or that's the biggest thing, is I'm never going to say, right, lads, you need to take this magic pill, or here's this tiny little secret and that will get you to where you want to go. Like, it's consistency and a long-term thing. I always talk to you about, don't I? You can't undo 30 to 5 to 10, however many years of bad habits in a week. And if you expect yourself to, then you're just going to end up failing. It makes sense to, actually rhythm the process. But on that as well, I'm going to ask 2 more questions, because I think these are really primal. Lads who are currently in the headset of, I'm too busy, I've got too much going on, this is going to actually make my life harder. What would you say to them about how the program's actually made your life easier and actually got you to a better point with more energy and confidence? The guys who are using the time element as, I'm going to say it bluntly, as an excuse, what would you say to them, John?
Well, that's quite an easy one, because as I said, if you sat down with a piece of paper and broke your day down into how long do you spend doing whatever, eating, sleeping, on the bus, going to work, in the car, reading, whatever, drinking a pint, eating a pizza, and I think I would have said people would be probably shocked how many times people would be when they're on their phone or looking, scrolling, social media. So break it down like that, then suddenly it realizes you've actually got some real big holes in your day that anybody who says they're really busy, even if they're busy at work, they can't work 24 hours a day. So there is always time, and also turn it on its head a bit as well. And although it might be tough at the beginning, you will get results out of it, and you'll become a better person, and actually a lot more better to either your employer or to yourself or whatever you're working for. You'll get better results out of yourself. People who if you're working that hard, that long, that you haven't got time to do this, then you're actually not that productive, in my view.
Yeah.
So that's the answer to that one.
Yeah, I think there's a huge thing with that as well, is that it saves you time. I've got my own coaches. I've got a fitness coach, a business consultant, mental health coach. And the reason being is that it saved me time, whether that's because they've got more knowledge in a subject, which means that I get that accelerated, or whether they even just are going to keep me accountable to do certain things. I'm very often, I'm dyslexic, so I look for the easiest way to do things. And I think that's exactly what I do with you guys, is give you a strategy, give you a perfect plan, and it's done for you, plug and play. On that second note as well, John, so anyone who kind of is in this headset of, I don't want to invest in myself, hiring a coach isn't something that I can actually do. But they can, but they're just in a bit of a funk about it. Would you say the investment you've made over the last 12 months, A, has changed your life, and B, is worthy of making if you feel like it's going to actually benefit you or help you to improve? What would your answer be to those two questions, bud?
Yeah, it obviously comes into focus with a lot of people regarding the financial side. But as you say, nothing in life is free, and certainly nothing good that you want to achieve is free. But also, when you look at, again, if you break this down as well, and if you do your sort of your weekly household bills or whatever, and you look at what you spend on a week or a month or a year, and that's not just sort of the gym, that's actual also other nice things that you would say you're investing, whether it's sort of disposable income, and actually great. And I think you'd shock yourself into saying how much you did spend on takeaways or beer, or even just going to the cinema or going to a concert, or I went to rugby and I was shocked at how much a ticket is now to go and watch a live game of football or rugby. But to actually look after yourself, and actually, as you say, when you get to sort of my age and that sort of thing, and you still want to be up and running, you've got to invest in your health and fitness, and there is no other shortcut. There is no shortcut to that. If you're going to sit on the couch and life's going to look after you, then you're wrong. So the return on that, so anybody thinking about it, there is no question. It sometimes can be seen as a big investment, but what isn't, if it's worth that, it's your life. You only get one life, as you say.
I always think about that. I think about that, obviously you guys know fully, like, what we reinvest into the business and what I've invested myself is, well, it's massive really. But I think for that, it's like, well, I look at it as a subject of, the time is going anyway, like the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 12 months, the show goes on. It doesn't matter what you do or you don't do. So it's whether or not, if you do invest financially, you can get back the money, because you'll re-earn it. That's how money works. But if you won't ever get back that time. And I think that's a massive thing. Obviously it's a bit, I do talk quite a lot about it with you guys, obviously in more depth, but that's a huge factor for me. But would you say, John, this program's changed life?
110%. This isn't just coming from me as well. You would get from my wife and my family, they would also quote that as well. This isn't just me trying to sort of cover myself here. Genuinely, I would say 110%. They would probably say even more, because they're on the other end. And absolutely, I'd absolutely have no question whatsoever. If I was in that position again, and there was a little hand on my shoulder of querying it, I would say, bugger off, I'm doing that. Yeah. Because this is the way forward, and I think there's enough evidence there to show. And what I've really enjoyed is, say, stepping into that new world of just having that structure and that plan, but also coming into contact with some of these sort of individuals that exist in that new world, and some of them are superhuman, in fairness, but some of them do give you that confidence to do things yourself. We were talking about earlier about it, weren't we, about some of the individuals, and it's going to be great, on this Thursday, that to have the one-to-ones with Ollie Ollerton, and everybody will be aware of what he's done and achieved. And it's just brought you that sort of that contact, and it's just, again, how else could you do that? You won't do that by nipping along to your gym once or twice a week. It's
I think that's, for me, is like, I've spent obviously a fair amount of time just building this and creating different systems. And I know when I first started this business with obviously my coach Phil Graham, is like, I didn't want to make this just a generic, like you said, sort of boot camp style online coaching. I wanted to make it like, we will change your life permanently and you will go on to do unreal things. Like, and that's obviously a massive thing for me. Like, you fully, well aware of my mission statement is to basically take any man who's got low self-confidence, self-doubt, and he's riddled with positions where he feels like he might not want to be here anymore, and just rip that out and be like, look, we can do this, we can make this happen. We just need to put certain.
But we've got guys on the system at the on the program at the moment. You say over the last year, I've witnessed, it's not just about, it's about the health and fitness. It's about they've changed career direction. They've done, and a lot of that is on the back of what they've learned from the program. And you could say, well, how have they done that? Well, it's all behind what goes on as the full package. The confidence, the education, the nutrition, all that has turned them into a different person. Well, not a different person. The person was already there. It's just you've managed to fulfill them. It's.
Even Ollie talks about it. Like, I remember in our Denied event, he talks about like self-improvement isn't something that just happens once in a while, that you're either doing it or you're not for the rest of your life. And like, he wants to continue to, test himself. Like you said, get out of your comfort zone. And sometimes getting out of your comfort zone might even just be initially getting on the first call. It might even be actually just reaching out for help. It might be the first investment, the first workout you do. All these things are little factors to get out of your comfort zone that take that layer off and make it so much easier to go. But mate, this has been awesome. It's been fantastic to always film this. Just the last sort of point, John, and then I'll start recording. Would you recommend any man who's lost confidence, maybe gained a bit of weight, maybe he's in a position where he just doesn't feel that he's up to his full potential, to take action and do this? What would you say about that guy?
Definitely take action. I can speak for myself, and I can speak probably for others as well. I've seen doing nothing is not an option. Well, it is an option, but you won't go anywhere. You'll probably just go downhill. So take action. On this particular case, speak to yourself, or there's you'll see me and you'll see others, connected on the program with posts. We're all very open to have a chat. We're all human. We can all share our wins and our losers, and also some of the challenges we've had as well. We've all had our challenges along the way, but we've overcome them. And absolutely do something. Don't do anything. That's not an option.
Perfect, mate. It's been awesome. I'm going to stop recording there. But as I said, anyone who's watched this, through obviously John himself, you can contact him. You contact fucking any of the lads on the page. Full disclosure, any of the lads you see that are winning, that I've shown case studies of, or any of the guys who just show to be in the program, they're more than happy to speak to about what we do. And obviously, if you want to actually, join, drop me a message. And just be clear, lads, if you're watching this, it's not a case of drop me a message and I'll send you a link. It doesn't really work like that. Like, we don't just let anyone into the program. There's going to be a process that we have to go through to actually see if you're someone we're going to end up in a year, in 3 months' time. You'll be John. You'll be John sat in there going, these are the wins I've done. These are lessons. This is what I've contributed to the community. I want specific people who really want to get results. So we'll have to go through that first. But yeah, awesome, dude. And as I say, mate, that's been fantastic, John. I'm just going to stop recording there.